season he's having. His second with the Lakers, his 17th overall. Many think he is right there for the MVP. It's a battle between he and Giannis, and we are ready to tip it off, guys, for the first time in 135 days. Dallas and the Lakers from the NBA campus in Orlando. Seth Curry, brother of Steph, getting the start, wearing the number 30 jersey. They all do in the Curry family. Goes back to the Dell days. Charlotte. Porzingis into the lane, gets the first bucket. And your first look at the Lakers. Last time they played, March 10th at Staples Center. Danny Green in the corner. Big game. If you're Frank Vogel and that staff, what do you want to see out of today?
Well, you know, it's been a lot of time away from the game. You want to see how guys are playing together. You know, less turnovers. You got to see if they're able to run offense properly, defense properly. You're looking to see just how quickly they can get in sync and do what the coaches have asked them to do. You're not looking for a whole lot of offense, not a whole lot of excitement. You're just looking to see if the team can connect and if they understand the principles that's been set out before them.
Frank Vogel said you will see LeBron and AD in the first half, and you just got your first look at Anthony Davis. A little face-up, and he knocked down the jumper. There's Seth Curry, and he hits his second three in a row, and it's an 8-2 Dallas lead. Seth Curry averaging over 12 points a game for Dallas. He's at 45% from three, second best in the NBA behind George Hill. And AD, mismatch, mid-range, got it for 8-4.
I don't know about you all, but I've kind of missed seeing that from AD, that little fadeaway. God, he's so good from 18 to 20 feet.
Again, I told you, I didn't go out on a limb too far picking him as take your shot, but he looks good so far.
Also, what you said about him finally probably being 100% healthy, having some time off to achieve that.
Yeah, James, remember like earlier in the season, he kept kind of touching his shoulder. He kind of tweaked it a little bit, stretched it a little bit. Kind of bothered him for quite a few weeks. But he says he is 100% right now.
Dallas on fire from three early. Luka getting in on it. And you saw LeBron James, who leads the league in assists at 10.6 per game, drop one off for JaVale and scores 11-6. Doncic and Porzingis. Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks building their future around those two.
It's a pretty good twosome right there.
It's not bad, Brez.
Yeah, by the way, this game is 7 minutes left. It might seem a little more quickly, going a little more quickly than it really is. 10-minute quarters for only this first scrimmage game. And then they bump up to 12-minute quarters for the second and third scrimmages.
Gotta love the start, Allie, from JaVale McGee.
He, another one who said he felt good coming in. You know, many people were concerned about his asthma and being down in the bubble, and he said he has done everything up to this point to stay healthy, to stay in shape, and he looks like it out there. Guys, another thing I've been like watching closely, though we love hoops, there's good noise in there.
You know, I was going to say the same thing.
Kind of piped it in a little bit.
Is that what we're experiencing, Gator?
It sounds real.
Yeah, they're piping it in, guys, and I'm sure you've been watching soccer overseas. They've been doing that as well as MLS, and it's, you know, the fans are kind of liking it. You've seen it with baseball as well, and I think that's what we're going to see, James. You know, different sports trying different things, trying to engage the fans.
Yeah, you know,
this is unprecedented territory, guys.
When you're on the floor, I mean, you have so much to focus on that you really aren't looking into the crowd. Maybe if there's a free throw or something like that. So the sound should sound real and a little familiar to them, hopefully.
I'll tell you, after 135 days, not much rust with these two teams. Remember, Dallas was the last game completed back on March 11th. They beat the Nuggets 113-97 as Luka lobs it up for Kristaps Porzingis, and he throws it down. And the foul when we come back. Porzingis will be
11 in the first. Both teams are 5 of 6 from the field, so not much rust there. I want to go back inside our Spectrum Sportsnet studios in the green room, bring in Lakers reporter Mike Trudell. And Mike, one of the big stories surrounding the Lakers was Avery Bradley not joining the team in Orlando. So much value he brought, especially on the defensive end. He was playing great offensively as well the last couple months of the season before the suspension. That means more minutes for a bunch of guys, but one of the guys is going to be KCP.
That's right, Chris, and of course you've already seen him slotted into that starting lineup, and that is a place where he grew pretty comfortable earlier in the season. Remember that Bradley had the hairline fracture in November. He missed 18 games in which KCP started, came back for a couple. Kenny ended up starting a couple more in January. And Geeter, the biggest difference in those games, the offense. LA just rose up the chart there in terms of how they're playing on that end of the floor, ranking 4th in offensive efficiency. They dropped some defensively, as you see Green hitting the 3. And that's the place where Avery Bradley, you just can't replace that 94 feet of defense that he gives you. But on the other end, you get that spacing, which benefits, of course, when you have LeBron and AD on the floor there. It's important to have that shooting, and that's something that Pope did really well throughout the season.
You know, Mike, one thing that people don't really see in the box score is what Avery Bradley does on perimeter, chasing around often the best player on the opposing team. I go back to that Clipper game. It was such a big game for the Lakers because they lost to them first 2 times, Christmas and on opening night. He was guarding Lou Williams at the end. He also, 5 or 6 threes and had that fantastic game.
Yeah, no question about it, and that's where they're going to miss him. And also just the mentality he brings, Chris. When you have somebody that's the first defender that the offense, I should say, is seeing, that sets the tone throughout the rest of the roster. So it's going to be tricky to replace him on that end. Although they do have Alex Caruso, and who can help off the bench defend a lot of point guards as well. But offensively, really, that's where the Lakers may have even a tick on that end, just because of the spacing that Caldwell Pope provides. That's something that is, as Brett mentioned in the pregame show, Lakers weren't great shooting as the season went on, but this should help having KCP out there more regularly.
Yeah, and Mike, you look at that number, the one that matters. With KCP in the starting lineup, the Lakers were 17-3. You mentioned the offense. He shot 43% from 3 in those 20 games. That's huge.
Yeah, and of course, it's always a little bit easier when you're playing more minutes with LeBron. Like, if you're playing with LeBron, sure, AD on the floor with him as well, you're going to get plenty of open looks. And that's one thing, KCP, really good catch-and-shoot player this season, something that's going to benefit them as AD gets a little shorter.
Yeah, AD wide open from the top. AD shooting very well from 3 in 2020, much better than he did 2019, as Seth Curry drops another 3-ball, his 3rd of the game. 4 for 5 from 3, the Mavericks. 9 points for Curry, 19-14 Dallas. Danny Green catch and shoot from the corner. He knocked it down. Very familiar spot for Dallas fan. They remember November 1st after that lovely screen by Dwight Howard. Maybe a hole. Danny Green hit 3 to send that game to overtime. That was one of the more fun games of the year, Allie. Oh, steal by AD, my choice for Defensive Player of the Year. And Big Game James, what are you seeing so far in this first quarter? It's been 135 days since both teams played.
Well, I think you see guys who are eager to get back. You know, their season was disrupted like everyone else. And, you know, I think they're eager to play against another team and finally get their season underway, getting the jitters out of the way. And but so far, it's so good. Look like both teams have been well kept and, you know, exercising what Coach wants them to do out there. Hope they can sustain it.
Ellie, you get your first look at Kyle Kuzma. We talked a lot about him over the last few months and how important he's going to be to this Laker basketball team.
I mean, I'm excited, too. Just over the last couple of days, as Coach Vogel has been talking about how he has dominated in training camp. You know, there are moments where he was going 9 of 10 in games. Just very efficient from the floor. It's the confidence that we all know, right, guys, that Kyle Kuzma does not lack. It's the opportunities. He says it. He's a rhythm player. He needs the opportunity, and it sounds like that's coming his way.
Yeah, Allie, if KCP is maybe the X factor for this team, if he plays well between now and mid-October as a starter, the Lakers are going to be in really good shape. If he's the X factor, I think Kuz is kind of the Y factor. He kind of struggled a little bit in the last 6 weeks before the league suspended play, wasn't really hitting his 3-ball that well, averaging only 11 points leading up to the shutdown over that last month and a half. But if he can rediscover his game, which, you know, Frank Vogel has given us pretty strong indicators is happening in this abbreviated restart training camp, that'll be a good sign for the Lakers.
And while we have a moment, let's pause for a word from Jack in the Box.
The new Monster Angus Thick Burger at Carl's Jr. Feed your happy.
I wish we had him.
And that was Carl's Jr. The Jack in the Box. That was Boban in the game. Marjanovic. Some of you might know him from John Wick 3.
Ever meet him, Deep? You know everyone. Do you know Boban?
I've met Boban once. Boban, one of the great guys in the NBA, one of the most popular guys in the NBA, one of the nice guys you'll ever meet.
Not surprised Deep knows him. Probably had dinner drinks with him, too.
I wouldn't go that far yet.
I'll tell you what, he's pretty effective if you let him get in his sweet spot, which is in the paint, offensive rebounds. He looked like he's gotten himself in incredible shape. I hadn't seen that type of definition in his upper body since he's been in the league.
James, that last game that was played back on March 11th, that was completed, Nuggets versus Dallas, Boban went for 31 and 17. Porzingis did not play that game. He was resting his sore knee, so Boban absolutely can get it done. As KCP does a nice job getting in the lane and throwing it up for Anthony Davis.
It doesn't look like, I know, Gear, you mentioned it right off the top, not a lot of rust, but it sure doesn't look like the Lakers skipped a beat.
No, Dallas, Dallas, one of the best offenses in the league. We'll get into that in a moment as LeBron runs into Luka. There's KCP. Get into the lane, and he's gotten better at that this year. Driving, navigate, and making the right pass. That is not Doncic, actually. That's LeBron. Running into Maxi. Kleber. Danny Green high off the glass.
Is he kind of the forgotten Laker? We've talked so much about KCP to step up. How are LeBron and AD going to look? Deion Waiters and J.R. Smith, can they help at all? We haven't talked a lot about Danny Green. He keeps doing good things on the court for the Lakers on both sides of it.
Because I'd argue that the expectation is just there. It'll never change.
It's kind of
we expect Danny to step up in big moments, to hit shots, and to defend. And I think he's always done that.
Yeah, he's proven himself. We know what we're going to get out of him over his career. And the two guys that really we haven't seen that,
right?
Pope, Kuz, they're the guys that have to prove themselves. Danny he's a proven factor, especially in the playoffs.
And guys, KCP went back to the locker room.
Oh, Quinn Cook getting that opportunity.
We'll try to keep everyone updated on that. And you see LeBron James. And we're going to break. We'll be back in a moment. Lakers Mavericks from Orlando, 21-20. Gundo, I'm Chris McGee. As you look at LeBron James, he looks fine. Last time we saw the Lakers in action was 4.5 months ago. Lakers record 49-14, second in the NBA behind Milwaukee. They were 8-2 post All-Star break, had won 11 of 13 games, but here's the important one. Third in defensive rating, fourth in offensive rating, second in points in the paint, and fast break big game, James. Pretty impressive numbers from this Lakers squad.
Very impressive, and the victories over Milwaukee and then the Clippers, it took a little time. We had the talent, but it takes time to gel with Avery Bradley, LeBron's leadership, AD, collectively, they were starting to look like a championship team.
Lakers now with the lead, 23-20. They're shooting 60%, 9 from 15 from the field. J.J. Barea, longtime Dallas Mav. Coming off that screen. There's Boban. Rebound wrong. And AD goes up with the left. He's fouled by Boban. He'll go to the line. One thing, Allie, that's been so impressive about Anthony Davis is his ability to knock down free throws. He's the best free throw shooter on this Laker team.
What did he make at one point? 26 of 26?
For a big man, it was an unbelievable number.
Just his size, his athleticism, his ability right there. Big game, you were talking about Boban and just how good he looks physically and in shape. And on the defensive end, when you're trying to
basically take him out of what he does well. You do your work early. You get him off the block as well as you can. But offensively, when he's defending you, we just saw AD with a clinic. You use your foot speed, your quickness to get to the rim.
AD's, one of his specialties is he's really good at recognizing who's guarding him. You know, he knows when he can shoot the fadeaway jumper. He knows when he can take a guy and drop step on him. So, yeah, just recognizing how someone's defending you. It's not a matchup. Boban's no match for AD. He's got too many skills.
Barea in trouble. Shot clock expired. He lets one fly. Jared Dudley, everyone's favorite teammate, will rebound. Dion Waiters. Waiters, step back. And Waiters.
Geeter, a walking
There it
bucket.
is.
Philly cheese is what they call it.
Waiters, Island Philly cheese. Step back, got it. 9-0 run for the Lakers, 26-20. Here's Quinn Cook. He's in transition. Kuz in the short corner, drives, kicks it to Waiters. We call it ball movement. A little too unselfish. And Waiters misses. I want to bring in Mike Trudell, have a conversation about Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, Geeter, so Kuz this year, it's been a really interesting season for him. Remember, before the season started, he was on Team USA, missed all of training camp after he hurt his foot and didn't get going until the 5th game actually against Dallas was his debut. So it took him a while to get to a rhythm, get healthy, and then, of course, he has LeBron and AD ahead of him. But Frank Vogel said it's been looking terrific in the scrimmages so far at practice, just in the practice weeks. Kuz, as he's fully healthy, there's some upside there that remains for Kuz here as he tries to find a rhythm. See how he looks in these scrimmages here.
Yeah, Mike, I think you bring up some great points there. And Kuz with that slow start. And a lot of expectations on Kuz as well. Remember, this is a different team than it was the last 2 years with championship aspirations. He's a young guy he's been getting the ball a lot, starting, getting a lot of minutes. And now you got to fill a role and find out how you fit with a team.
Hey, Chris, one thing to keep in mind with Kuz also, you have no Rondo in the second unit to run the plays and do that sort of thing in terms of secondary ball handling. You'll see some of that from Kuz and AD also. It's not just going to be the guards like Russo, like Waiters. Those guys can make plays in half court as well.
First quarter winds down. Dion Waiters, say hello to Los Angeles Lakers and their fans. Waiters with another three. And a little pose at the end. Dwight loves it. The fellas love it. Lakers, Mavericks from the NBA campus in Orlando. Mavericks started 6 of 7. Since then, they've gone 1 of 7. Lakers closed the first on a 15-3 run. They lead 29-22. And here's how the first quarter ended. And Brez, I know you've been waiting for this. Dion Waiters, hoisting and feasting.
Who knew? I mean, just 2 short years ago, he averaged 14 points and 4 assists, played 31 minutes a game, too. So he has it in him. This season has not been one to remember for him. He's played only 3 games. I guess the news for him and the Lakers, in those 3 games, he played 42 minutes and scored 28 points combined. So he can fill it up. He sure did at the end of that first quarter right there.
And Alex, a question coming into Orlando without Avery Bradley. There's some minutes to go around to see Quinn Cook get fouled. He'll go to the line to shoot 2 by Seth Curry. Well, who's going to get those minutes between Waiters and J.R. Smith? J.R., you've known for a long time covering him in Cleveland.
Yeah, I just think that the difference between the two of them is Dion is actually a guy that could run your offense. And he could be, he's a playmaker. So not only does he hit shots, but he's also a playmaker, and so he kind of possesses the versatility there, where JR is a guy who comes in, he hits shots, he can turn the energy of a game just like that because he can get hot. He can get you 6 to 8 threes in a matter of minutes. I just think it's going to be what the Lakers need out of the two of them.
I agree. What they need at that time, obviously, if Waiters is a distributor, that's something that they would love to have. And I think it depends on probably to the defensive matchups, what's going on the defensive end, if they're being taken advantage of, or if they're able to defend someone and be abrupt. So I think it's, like you said, Al, it's whatever they need. They're very versatile.
James, how much does it matter that Dion signed with team back in March, didn't play for the Lakers, but sat on the bench for a couple of games, kind of got to know the terminology and that sort of thing, as opposed to J.R. Smith, who was just picked up a couple weeks ago? Does that give Dion that much more of an advantage?
A little bit. I mean, Waiters has been around the system. He's been here, kind of knows what's going on. He's talked to the coaches and the DMs and kind of knows what is expected of him. JR's come in, and he'll probably be under LeBron's wing, and LeBron will probably be the one that'll bring him in and tell him what's happening. So I don't know. I mean, JR's been around long enough to kind of pick up the pieces pretty quickly. So I don't expect a huge disadvantage there.
One thing you look at when you see J.R. Smith is experience, and you can't put a price on that. Playing alongside LeBron James, winning a championship, being on the big stage, and you're hoping that J.R. can bring that to this Lake team, as Rick Carlisle is showing us our first challenge here in the bubble. Seth Curry saying, "I did not touch Quinn Cook." Call stands. So Quinn Cook will be going to the line, 29-22. Lakers have faced the Mavs 4 times this season. They're 3-1. The Mavs wins at Staples back in early December. You see J.R. Smith signed on July 1st for the NBA restart. And Ali, you have to remember, he's top 13 all time and three-pointers made as well. So J.R. can hit a shot.
He can hit a shot, Peter, but he can hit a shot when the pressure's on. He's done it in the bright lights. He's done it in Game 7 of NBA Finals on the road. Don't forget that 3 straight threes just the third quarter kind of changed the tide there in 2016. But
you had to get that in, didn't you, Ali? 3-1 lead. Warriors had a 3-1 lead. When are you going to say that?
I know there's reason why you sent me that question, so I had to deliver for you. With that said, I just see a lot of similarities, though, between he and Dion Waiters. There's 2 of the new guys that we're looking forward to seeing because of that one aspect. They love the bright light. They love those kind of moments and situations, and they love to hit and take and hit, I should say, the tough shots.
Yeah, I think it's the right pieces. Everybody talked about LeBron and AD being the nucleus, and we got Danny Green, Avery Bradley. Unfortunately, he's not going to be with us. But when you bring in 2, veteran players, J.R. Reed and Waiters, they've been around. They're not afraid to play the game. They know what to expect on the road and at home, and they don't mind, being in the big light. So I think it's another example of the Lakers, kind of padding on to what they need as they go into the playoffs.
17-3 run. Mike Trudell's going to join us right now with a KCP update. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, Geeter, so he rolled his ankle, but the report is that he's okay. He went to the back just to get looked at by the training staff, and he's now back on the bench. Frank Vogel can choose to put him back in if he so chooses. So again, rolled ankle, but it is thought that he is just fine.
All right, nice report there, Mike. I appreciate that. You getting that report while being El Segundo is also equally as impressive.
Mike Trudell has sources.
Our first look at Dwight Howard in the game. Dwight making that late decision to join the Lakers in Orlando. Nice closeout but by Waiters. The shot still falls. Three-pointer good, 31-27. Kristaps Porzingis now with 8 points. Porzingis looks great. And Mike Trudell, this Dallas team on pace for the second best offensive rating in NBA history behind the 2018-19 Warriors, just currently ahead of the 86-87 Lakers. They have been so efficient, so impressive, and they're doing it while being 18th in pace.
Yeah, just blistering are the Mavericks, Geeter, and that's going to be a tricky matchup for whoever they end up seeing in the first round. Right now, they are the 7th seed, so they do have a chance to move up a couple of spots depending on how things shake out, because it's pretty tight, it's pretty packed between kind of 3 through 7 there. So somebody's going to get this Dallas Mavericks squad in the first round and not be pleased. Now, it will very, very unlikely be the Lakers, who are basically a shoo-in to get the 1 seed, Chris. Even if the Clippers go 8-0, the Lakers only would have to win 3 games out of their 8 to secure that. So you have to think they feel pretty good about the lead they've built at this point.
In Big Game, I want to bring you in. One of the big reasons why Dallas is back in the playoff hunt and making to look a big looking to make a big jump, is because of Luka Doncic. I mean, what he's been able to do in his second season, not just a Dallas fan favorite, but favorite among anybody who watches the NBA. So good, so crafty, light years ahead of most people at this time.
Yeah, Luka is to Dallas what, LeBron is to the Lakers, or to what Kawhi is to the Clippers. He's their leader, and he's young, but he doesn't play like he's young. That international experience that he's picked up before he came to the States. This kid is he's on his way to being great, a triple threat guy, can do just about anything, and he looks like he does it in second gear. He's just a phenomenal smart player. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Dallas is nice to have him, and definitely a reason that they're where they are, playoffs.
Dwight Howard makes the first free throw. LeBron James back in the game. And I think back November 1st, that big game, Lakers won overtime, 119-110. And LeBron and Luka became the oldest, youngest triple-double in the same game with over 30 points and 15 assists. It was just an epic battle. LeBron went for 39, 16, and 12 rebounds. Luka went for 31, 15 assists, and 13 rebounds. It's the game Danny Green hit game-tying three at the buzzer. But Luka, already a star. And now teamed up with Porzingis as he comes down and hammers one. And it's all tied up at 31. Doncic now has 11 points, 3 assists. And Frank Vogel wants to call a timeout after a 9-0 run.
Peter, I argued
Excuse me, hold on, Brett. Yeah, that scores 32-31. And, Brez, we'll come back to you on the other side. We got to go to break with the Western Conference standings. The Lakers at the top with a 5.5-game lead with 8 to go. The Clippers in that second spot. You go down and you look at Dallas, 3 games behind Houston, well ahead of Memphis. So the Dallas Mavericks will be going to the playoffs. That Clippers-Mavericks first-round series would be awfully fun. And the Lakers looking to secure that top seed probably early on in the 8-game reseeding process. Bress, I'm going to get you back in. I know you had something to say right before we went to break.
Yeah, sorry, I was so rude kind of cutting in what you were trying to do, Chris McGee.
Never.
I argued on one of our shows the other day that Luka Doncic might be the league's most improved player. There are some pretty good candidates out there. Brandon Ingram, Bam Adebayo. But I really think that Luka had a great rookie year, averaged about 21 points a game. But now he's 29 points a game and almost getting a triple-double on top of it. So for my money, he is the most improved player in the NBA, and also voted an all-star starter for the first time this season.
Yeah, you made a great argument that day. We had Kevin Ding on the show. I was voting for Brandon Ingram, but you definitely made a case for Luka. There's a number of players who just continue to improve. That's the beauty of the NBA, as Kyle Kuzma gets to a spot, hits the mid-range jumper, 34-31. Who's now on the board? There's that pick and roll. Doncic the crossover. Kicks it out. Hardaway Jr. short. And Porzingis arguing this case. Mike Trudell, I'd like to bring you in. The Dallas Mavericks, we talked about their efficiency, and a lot of the changes came when Porzingis started playing more of the 5 and run that pick and roll with Luka.
Yeah, it just creates so much spacing for them, Geeter, and that's something that the Lakers are going to have to think about more as they get into the postseason, whether that's against Dallas or some of the other opponents that can go small in that sense by having a big out on the perimeter. They did do a pretty good job of that, though, in not allowing those open threes to the pick-and-pop shooters. But again, that is something that's on Frank Vogel's radar for when they play teams like that, since the Lakers are so focused on protecting the rim, whether that's JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard at the 5 spot, or then when they go small, of course, AD sliding over.
And Porzingis, with his 4th personal, went to the bench, and Braun attacked the paint. Nobody better than LeBron James getting to that rim, still doing it at age 35. Great defense right there. Kyle Kuzma on that pick and roll, gets his hand in the passing lane. Jared Dudley's fouled by Curry. LeBron James' second made layups, 276 of them, behind Russell Westbrook of 302. And while we have a moment, let's pause for a word from Carl's Jr.
The new Monster Angus Thick Burger at Carl's Jr. Feed your happy.
Monster Angus Thick Burger. Looking fantastic. 36-31. Tar Heel right there, big game, James.
Jackson?
Yep. Justin Jackson. Always like giving a little Tar Heel love for the game.
Yeah, got a couple Tar Heels out there, you know. Jackson, you know, has not yet found his way in the league. Up in Sacramento before to Dallas, I believe. He's supposed to be a sharp shooter. I don't think he's yet achieved that consistency yet. See what he does under Coach Carlisle.
Big game. I want to talk about that last play defensively. That's what makes Dwight Howard so good. That's why he won the award 3 years in a row. He does such a great job of not fouling yet dictating where that shot's going to go and why it's long.
Yeah, big men who don't leave their feet and don't go for pump fakes to just kind of wait for you to make your move is what Dwight Howard does very well. There's no secret why he's been a past defensive player of the year because he really has a big talent for, you know, blocking shots. And if not blocking the shot, he's definitely going to alter the shot to create poor shooting percentages.
What a redemption story here in Los Angeles. Dwight Howard, after leaving 2012-13, after one season, put it for Houston, he made his way back after playing for a number of teams, and he has been outstanding. He's been a leader. He's been a great teammate. And he has been anchor of that second unit.
He recovered that team in 2012-13 for the LA Times. And Dwight, you know, so much was expected of him coming over to the Lakers. And he was supposed to be a dominant guy, help Kobe get another championship or two before he ended up retiring. And it just didn't happen. The fans fell out of favor with him pretty quickly. The truth is he had a sore shoulder for most, if not all that season. And his back was hurting him, and he was just kind of a beat-up guy at that point. Now, this season, such low expectations. It's fun to see he's kind of reclaimed a good spot with Laker fans before every game. Pre-COVID, anyway, he would go to the crowd and take selfies with fans and, you know, sign autographs and just have a really good time in his return, his second tour, if you will, with the Lakers.
Boban misses a free throw. 39-32 Lakers. Second quarter from Orlando. First scrimmage. White can't catch the lob. Hardaway Jr. into the corner. Jackson steps on the line. Turnover. Laker basketball.
That play gets called a lot in the NBA. You wonder if they're ever widen the court maybe another half a foot to avoid that. A lot of stepping out of bounds in those corner shot threes.
James, are you sparking new NBA legislation?
I'm trying to, you know, take responsibility for something.
Appreciate that. James, what's one of the rules that really bother you about today's NBA? Maybe it's been on your mind for a while since you were a player. What would be the one thing you would change besides adding a half a foot to the court dimensions there?
But do you mean actually on the court or anything?
Anything. It's your fault.
Sometimes these video replays, you know, get in the way of the game sometimes. I know they have to get called right.
Got to get right.
But I think the last 2 minutes or something like that is cool. But sometimes it screws up the rhythm of the game. And the worst thing, it gets us out here too late at night sometimes. That's the one thing.
So you would put cap on the
put a cap on the video.
To
you know, I'd like to see you be able to body check a little bit, not hand check.
Okay.
They've taken that away from the game, and you used to be able to use your forearm as long as you didn't extend it. That's good defense throughout the NBA, and I think that would, you know, challenge some of these scorers. Who a lot of them, like Harden and Curry, who are untouchable. You can't even breathe on them, or it's a foul. So I'd like to see the game get back a little bit to where you know, tag them a little bit.
LeBron James taking advantage, a mismatch with Jackson, goes right to the hoop, finishes with the left, 42-34 Lakers.
I just saw some cheerleaders on the side. What was that all about?
Was that on the video board?
Like on the screen, they had cheerleaders going.
They made me cut it.
Look at that.
We're like cut all season cheerleaders.
There's the Carl Cam. Rewind, LeBron James, 42-34. Doncic. He's fouled out top. Mike Trudell, you gave Laker fans sad news on Twitter today. It's just a scrimmage, so there's no panic. But everyone's so excited to see Alex Caruso, always a fan favorite, having such an awesome year, not playing today.
Yeah, Chris, so Caruso yesterday at practice just fell on his back and has a contusion there. It's one of those things, as you mentioned, since the scrimmage, you're probably going to take the precautious route and not put him out there. You saw some numbers flash there. Of course, part of the reason why people have been eager to see more of him has been the net ratings all-star on this team all season long. In fact, he ranks 11th in the entire NBA, tied with LeBron, in fact, behind basically a bunch of groups composed of Bucks players. I know what their net rating was like. And the combination that he has with LeBron James in particular is something that Frank Vogel has been looking to add to in terms of more minutes together. And I'll tell you what, that's going to happen now, right? Specifically with Rondo and Bradley out, he is a guy that you think of as stepping into that bench role and really being able to float between the 1 and the 2 or just completely play out the ball. So once that back feels a little better, do expect to see plenty of ace fresh moving forward as the Lakers go into the season games.
Yeah, Doncic with a little fake pass and gets in the lane, gets a bucket. Mike, just to piggyback off of that, Alex Caruso, that's the thing. You wrote an article about the eye test and advanced stats gold. I mean, that's one thing about Alex Caruso. Sometimes you look at the box score and you don't see much, but you look at the plus minus and he's plus 17. The guy's just a winner. And the Lakers recognized that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you see it right there, right? Just the 17 minutes and the points and the field goal percentage. None of that stuff is going to pop off of the screen. But if you watch every Laker game, you just notice that they tend to play better when he's on the floor. And that's why, even though Frank Vogel has a lot of options, you've seen Caruso close in a lot of lineups. Specifically when AD goes to 5, Vogel has brought in Caruso to play next to either KCP or Dan Green. And then, of course, LeBron there running things in the point guard position. So it's something Frank Vogel has recognized Caruso's value. And you just have to see now if he can expand his game even further now that they're going to need a bit more of a secondary ball handling.
KCP, Mike had mentioned earlier, a rolled ankle. He's fine. He's in the game. Loses the jump ball. Doncic, screen from Boban. Braun doing a nice job. Oh, nice give and go, but it's intercepted. Lakers doing a nice job of getting their hands in the passing lane. Dwight Howard, up top, bang. Timeout, Dallas, 44-36. 36. LeBron James with another bucket. Season he's having his second with the Lakers, his 17th overall in the second quarter. Big game, James.
And, you know, Michael Jordan, Magic Bird, you know, Kobe was definitely. And LeBron, it doesn't matter that they're in the bubble or that the season has been disrupted. I'm looking at his face right now. It looks like he has Game 7 attitude right now. I mean, physically, the way he's playing, the way he's getting up and down the floor, relentless, going through the hole with authority. Look at that. Who gives out those type of instructions in a bubble scrimmage game? The guy's amazing.
You know, the last time we saw that? Dennis Rodman teaching us the art of rebounding in that docuseries. Yeah. Pointing. I mean, that's locked in focus.
Most of those offensive rebounds he got on me.
Great reference, Ali. The Last Dance, Dennis Rodman, absolutely phenomenal. Lakers are shooting over 65%, 16-24. And you're right, guys, LeBron James is dialed in, and so are the Lakers, 48-36. Jackson gets knocked away. Boban is there, and Boban delivers off the glass. Kuz, Danny Green, KCP, AD, and LeBron. Backdoor cut Along the baseline, what a pass from LeBron James to Kyle Kuzma in the dunk, 50-38. We saw that so much last year, Kuz's first year with LeBron. That eye contact, that ability for LeBron to just see anyone at any time. Jackson up in. 10-point lead for the Lakers.
A lot of weapons, Geeter, and I think LeBron is smart enough to know that if he can create more weapons, there's the big weapon right there in AD from downtown. But Kuz, Waiters, JR, Pope, anybody that can facilitate and make something happen, LeBron's going to be looking for that type of versatility.
Anthony Davis, Brez, in 2020 was shooting over 40% three. In 2019 was just 28%. What do you think the biggest difference been his first few months of 2020?
I think it helps, and he had some decent players on his teams in New Orleans for sure. Drew Holiday, pretty established guard in this league. But when you have a guy like LeBron really kind of taking some heat off of you, it allows you to add to your game, kind of expand repertoire. I think that is what we've seen from AD, and some of that too. I really think, I know you mentioned earlier, but I think AD could be up for a Defensive Player of the Year award, guys.
Great screen right there on the replay from Danny Green. As Kuz backdoor with a pass by LeBron James. And you got to credit Frank Vogel. When AD was missed threes early in that season, he told him he wanted him to keep shooting. 5 a game. And now you can see the confidence. As Brez said, you got the playmaker with LeBron James. You got wide open looks. Kuz, confident.
I like that, though. I want to see Kuz get very confident. A little slow in the last few weeks going into the shutdown. Speaking of confidence, how about that?
That started with a breakup of a pass, Brez, KCP, LeBron James in transition. Just forget about it, Allie.
I mean, look out. I told you. He's ready to destroy anyone who comes in his way.
And, there were a couple players there that, could have made an attempt. They just got out of the way. Because when LeBron picks up steam, there's no stopping him.
Big game. It's a scrimmage. Get out of the way. I always say it's not worth it.
Boom. Get out the way.
Great song. I don't blame him at all.
Peter, shout out. Great song.
Lakers by 11. Kuz. Danny Green can get it off in time. Yes. In and out. And that'll do it for the first half.
But one thing that's a little cool about this whole experience in the bubble there in Orlando, you can hear LeBron calling out every single defensive assignment for his teammates. And that's something that Frank Vogel remarked about a lot throughout the season. LeBron James, of course, he's well known for his all-around game, and particularly this year, Chris, leading the offense as the point guard. But he also point guards the defense in the sense that he knows everything. He knows other teams' plays. He knows where guys are supposed to be. And that's something that has a lot of value for the team and has really helped them defensively throughout the season.
I mean, Mike, so much communication is needed. And look at all great leaders. You look at in the sport of football, the quarterbacks, linebackers, guys are calling out plays, constant communication. LeBron James, so good at that, always putting everyone in the right situation, the right spot on the floor, and he's motivated. Mike, he's 35 years old. He knows what this means. He stayed sharp. He stayed in shape. We knew he would, and it trickled down. You see it in every part of the organization.
Yeah, and Chris, one of the things that we talked about a lot over these 4 months, and it's crazy, it's been 4 months, right, since we last had the basketball, as Chappelle gets on.
How about that, Mike? Dare get up and bang it.
I mean, so LeBron in his body, right, like he has this calendar, his internal clock where he knows he's supposed to be peaking at a certain time of the season. And that was disrupted this year. And yet and still, we all knew that he was going to find a way to be in the best shape of anybody in Orlando. He just knows what to do. He knows his body. He's been working out really hard. And I think we saw it there in that first half.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point. I mean, Braun said that. He actually was on Allie's Road Trippin' podcast with Channing Frye and Richard Jefferson during the COVID lockdown, and he spoke about how people think he's, this is great, LeBron's getting a rest, his body's getting used to chilling. He's like, that's not it at all. For me, my body was rounding third. I was getting ready for the playoffs. You talk about that clock, his body knows. So it was a different unprecedented time for LeBron.
Yeah, JaVale just finishing around the rim as he's done.
Yeah, it's real nice.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, that's the thing with LeBron. I almost wonder if both things are true. So in the one sense, yes, it would have been ideal for him to carry forward that traditional load that he had been building. But at the same time, I do think it's kind of nice that he did get a chance to get some additional time off on those legs. And then this is part of the reason why it's nice they're having these 3 scrimmages. And the Lakers can almost treat the 8 seeding games like preseason games in a sense, Geeter, because they don't have to win, most likely many games to keep their seed. And so LeBron can use that time to ramp up as opposed to a team like the Pelicans or the Blazers or the Grizzlies where they're really in kind of win mode in order to try to just get into the postseason.
Mike, I want to give you these post-All-Star numbers for LeBron. 30 points, 9.5 assists, 8.2 rebounds, 55% from the field, 37% for 3.
Yeah, he was ramping up, and I think this is the thing, Chris, that we didn't get to see last year, that if you watch LeBron at his previous stops, that was so commonplace. He always built towards that postseason. That was when he played his best basketball. 8 straight trips to the finals. Well, last year, the Lakers were in the 4 spot. Around Christmas, that's when he goes down with a groin injury, and then Lonzo gets hurt, Ingram gets hurt, and the whole thing sort of fell apart from there. So Laker fans never got to see LeBron have that ramp up towards the postseason. That's what we were seeing in the games that you mentioned, Chris, after the All-Star break, and it's going to be interesting to see how he uses this next month before I think August 17th is the date that the first round is going to start.
Quinn Cook taking over those point guard responsibilities. There's Kuz. Kuz off the pick and roll, slip screen, Jared Dudley. And he hits the rim, 59-50 here in the third quarter. Chris McGee, Mike Dell's with me right now. Also have James Worthy, Allie Clifton, and Mike Bresnan back in the studio. And Mike, Kyle Kuzma will always be a conversation for Laker fans. He's that one holdover from the young Lakers core. And I'm talking back all the way to Julius Randle, D'Angelo Russell, and you go to Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Larry Nance, Jordan Clarkson. Kuz is the one guy still here, and people so badly want him to be that number 3 guy. Kuz has had to learn on that quick pass to JaVale McGee how to fit with this team and championship aspirations as the number 1 goal. He's done that.
Yeah, I think the Kuzma discussion to me is a little bit less complicated, I think, than sometimes it's gotten. Like, the biggest thing is that his minutes went way down because he has 2 All-NBA forwards on his team, right? So his production, of course, was going to drop as well. His rhythm was going to drop as well, and he's trying to focus on, as Jared Dudley's told us, Chris, multiple times, his defense, his passing, trying to be in the right spots. And that he has got better. In fact, his defensive rating has gotten considerably better from where it was last year. It was around, so, like, that's been important.
Yeah, we're going to break 2:52. I'm being joined right now by Mike Dell. And Mike, as we saw during the suspension of the NBA, a lot going on in our world and especially in our country. You see Black Lives Matter, the message on both sides of the NBA court. And recently, Frank Vogel talked to you a little bit about what the Lakers were doing about social justice by bringing in Dr. Brown.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Dr. Karita Brown, a terrific professor at UCLA. She was hired as the team's director of racial equity and action back in June. And this was coinciding with the franchise celebrating Juneteenth. And, look, Dr. Brown's goal really is to help educate the Lakers further in the organization's push towards what they would call progress on racial and social issues, Chris. And it's been something that's, they wanted to make sure they were taking a leadership role in this and not just being a passive participant in all of this. Tim Harris, the president of the Lakers, and Jeannie Buss, of course, the owner, were really driving this and wanted to find a way to make sure that employees had a chance to further their cultural knowledge. And there have already been weekly calls every Wednesday. Dr. Brown joins the entire staff on a Zoom call. She's had some terrific guest speakers from around the country, a lot of professors and educators and journalists. So it's really been eye-opening, and I think that it's something that's been very important for the Lakers to not just the players, staff, and really everybody, Chris, to try to really embrace what's been going on in this movement across country.
Yeah, we appreciate that information, Mike. Great stuff as Quinn Cook hits a layup and the Mavs come right back and scores 65-58. I want to get your thoughts on the game, James. You and I have talked on the phone over these past few months about all kinds of issues and social justices, and I've talked to you and reached out to you and We talked about talking to our kids and what that means, and you mentioned this in the pregame show, educating our youth. So big game, go ahead and jump in there.
Sweep history under the rug and not teach it in high school and elementary school. I think that is a big problem. And, you know, because of videos now, we're understanding the history. You know, obviously, all lives matter. But I think in case of what we've seen with the brutality on film, you know, I was here with Ron King. I myself, you know, in the early 70s, integrated elementary school. It was a tough time, and we need to talk about it. And I think finally, and I mean finally, I think the platform is there for us to have a diverse conversation and, you know, make things better amongst us.
Big game. If you had a chance to talk to Kareem, we had him in studio for an interview, and Kareem just always so knowledgeable and always so great to talk to. All of his work dating back to Martin Luther King Jr. and his first time protesting on the campus of UCLA.
Yeah, he was in the famous photo with Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Bill Russell, you know, some great athletes who were all about economic empowerment back in the late 60s. So when I came here to Los Angeles, I was lacking about 15 hours to graduate. And Kareem was one of my tutors on the back of the bus in the hotel. If you talk to him about history or anything that deals with you know, being an activist, he will talk to you for hours and hours and introduce you to books that he's read. He's a walking encyclopedia when it comes to history and these type of issues.
Appreciate your thoughts there, James. 67-61, Lakers leading just over 4 minutes here in the third quarter. Seth Curry has been fantastic for the Mavs. 19 points and 7 for 7 shooting, 5 for 5 from 3. J.J. Barea. Another 3, this one short for Dallas. Dion Waiters. Waiters only played in 3 games this year for Miami. And Waiters hits the 17-footer, 69-61. That gives Waiters 7 points. Three ball in the corner is good. Tim Hardaway Jr. played Michigan. He has been great for this Dallas team, especially over the last 20 games, as Kuz hits a much-needed shot for Lakers. 72-64. Curry again. Seth Curry shooting like Steph Curry, 6 for 6 from 3. He is second in the NBA in three-point percentage at over 45%. He is fantastic today. 6-7-72. Dallas right back in it, trailing by 5.
Yeah, easy to get those two brothers confused today, isn't it? You know, Seth has had a really remarkable, kind of under-the-radar season for the Mavs, and no doubt about it. You know, Porzingis and Luka Doncic are the reason why the Mavs are in the 7th seed right now. But you have to have some good support, too. And Curry and Boban are two of those guys who have really stepped up right now.
See Kyle Kuzma hitting that shot. On the replay, Mike Riddell and I were talking about Kuz, and Mike brought up a great point that I feel I'm always speaking to when I speak to Laker fans about Kuz as a starter. Waiters 3 off the mark. Uptick in minutes. When he plays the minutes, gets the shots, you see the numbers go up.
Yeah, Geeter, last season he had 39 points in a game in Philadelphia. He had 41 points against Detroit. He was the Rising Stars MVP. He's got some skills. Let's not forget.
We're going to break. For playoffs. Dion Waiters for the first time in a Laker uniform. Lakers leading 72-70. Dion Waiters with 9 in the Dallas Mavericks. Red hot shooting. Seth Curry, 6 for 6 from 3. 3 of those here in the third. Mavs 10 for 23 overall from deep. Hardaway Jr. last 10 games before the break averaged 20 points per game. Came over in that Kristaps Porzingis raid from New York. J.R. Smith dumps it back to White. He fumbles it. Boban blocks it. Jump ball called. So, Allie, we get our first look at J.R. Swish.
I mean, they don't name him Swish for nothing, right?
There's reasons.
Get ready for some long 3 balls from J.R. Smith. But the other thing we have to remember with him, again, he has played in an NBA game since November of 2018.
That's going to make a big difference.
Yep.
Because no matter how much he's kept himself in shape, not being, even in practices, can stymie your game. So his experience will bring forth a little quicker, I think.
And to that point, James, we talked to him one-on-one the other day, and he's in physically great shape, came in, prepared mentally. He says he's ready to go. He's locked in, couldn't be happier. But he did say when it comes to getting down the terminology on the defensive end of the floor and understanding the schemes, it was going to take him some time. And I think these scrimmage games are awesome, an awesome opportunity for him to kind of develop that.
Probably more beneficial to someone like him than anybody who's been out of the game, as you said, Allie, since 2018. There's a lot of defensive principles that change in a season he's been away from. So just being out of practice habit is enough to, have to catch up.
612 days since last NBA game. I did the math earlier, not right now.
And Maxi Kleber ties it up at 72, and you're looking at Taylor Horton Tucker, THT, 46th overall pick in the 2019 draft. His first shot off the mark, but it's nice to see him in the game for the Lakers.
Frank Vogel had some nice words about THT when he was talking to him last week, saying he looks good. Like he has really done well in these practice situations in the bubble so far.
Yeah, THT playing for the South Bay Lakers. They do such a great job developing Laker talent, as we've seen over the last few years.
Alex Caruso, center on that list.
Joey Buss, Kobe Carl, everyone involved. THT just played in 2 games for the Lakers, 5 minutes overall, still looking for his first points. But for South Bay, he was averaging over 18 points, over 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Al mentioned Dion Waiters may picking up some ball handling responsibilities. You see him kicking out to JR.
Twist.
Almost big game. THT not afraid. Kuz, offensive rebound. Lakers did by 1.
I feel like Kuz, right before the All-Star break, really started to improve his rebounding. I feel like he was thinking, okay, not getting as much attention or as many opportunities on offense, I should say. And he really tried to do other things, played some D, and really pushed up his offensive rebounding numbers.
Boban, Marjanovic.
Brez, another thing with Kuz is, talent without principles and theory doesn't last long in this league. I mean, you can play, but I think he finally, submitted to learning the principles of the game. Like you said, getting offensive rebounds, finding other ways to be great, because we know what he can do offensively.
Had a nice pass by THT, but Dwight unable to convert the dunk. End of the third quarter, the Mavs on a 27-13 run. They lead, ended that third quarter on a 27-13 run. They lead the Lakers by 3. No AD and LeBron here in the second half. I want to bring in Mike Jell. One thing the Lakers will be looking for, ball handling responsibilities, running that second unit without Rajon Rondo. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, Chris, so we know that it was 6 to 8 weeks was the time frame that we had originally when Rondo got hurt and had the surgery shortly thereafter. We know that he's not there in Orlando. So it's probably closer come this weekend to about 4 to 6 weeks. And Frank Vogel did expect that if the Lakers were playing at that point too, that he would get him back into the lineup. But yeah, secondary ball handling, that is the thing that Rondo did the most of. You see Deon Waiters there creating a play for Dwight Howard. That is one thing that Frank Vogel is excited about the prospect of seeing, because Deon can take players off the dribble. He can get into the paint again, as you just saw. So that's one option. You also have Quinn Cook, who just had a shot at him on the bench. And then Caruso has done some of the playmaking there with the second unit. Now, here's the other thing, though. LeBron James is going to have the ball in his hands for much of the game, especially in high-level playoff moments. It doesn't just have to be guards either, Chris, that fill in for Rondo. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that could be Anthony Davis having some more possessions once they get to the half court. That can be Kyle Kuzma, who can certainly create off the dribble and get his own shot. So they have a lot of different guys that you can see it, and it's probably going to be more of a committee than just one player whose focus is like Rondo's, which does seem to be primarily to be a passer.
Mike, I think bring up a great point. When people ask me who's going to be backup point guard, I say, well, in the playoffs, you got to remember LeBron's have that ball for about 38, 39 minutes a game.
Yeah, and there's nowhere else that you'd rather have the basketball, right? Like any lineup that you look at, if LeBron is on the court, you want him to have the ball. And J.R. Smith there making a little plays. So, LeBron's mastery of NBA offense is such, Chris, that he's just an offense all onto himself. That's what he's done. He leads the whole entire league in assists this season. But there are times also where you don't want him to have to carry the full load as a playmaker, because there are other times where he's such an effective scorer. He's so effective going to the basket that you do want to give him some help there. And that's why I think these seeding games coming up, in addition to the scrimmages, are going to be important just to see who else can establish a bit of a niche in terms of setting up plays when LeBron is either on the floor and you don't want him to, or when LeBron is getting his rest.
Mike, congratulations. I know it's just a scrimmage, but the Laker players are happy. Devontae Cacok gets his first 2 points with the big love. Rookie out of UNC Wilmington. That's a nice moment, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, Cacok can play. Okay, if you watch the South Bay Lakers, and I know a lot of Laker fans got a chance to this season, he can play basketball. You talk to some of the Laker players, they're aware of it, because he was really good in training camp, and that's a guy Frank Vogel could call on, and maybe there's another one, Taylor Horton-Tucker.
And there's his first 2 points, back-to-back, Cacok, and then THT. The fellows are loving it. And by the way, that all started because of the defense and the rim protection from Dwight Howard, something he's done all year long for this Laker defense. That's why they're 3rd in defensive rating. Lakers now lead by 2. Deon Waiters throws it up. Cacok. Look at JaVale McGee going nuts in the background. That's what I love about this Laker team, how much they pull for each other. Mavericks fire a 3, miss. Boban. And Boban's teammates love it. Boban. His 11th rebound to the point. 4 for 6 from the field. 81-81. Waiters. There's Dwight in the post. And the foul by J.R. Smith. We're all tied up at 81. Lakers will play Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Pre-game show at 8:30. A little brekkie, coffee, and join us. What are you bringing for everyone that morning?
I'll be bringing a nice collection of pastries for everyone. I believe it's my turn to bring in food. Might have a little omelet bar as well. I know you're a big fan of the Denver omelet, so we'll let that done for you.
Not too into buffets right now, Mike, but that's okay. I appreciate the thought, the effort.
It'll be a socially
distanced
a few more minutes. Omelet bar.
Good to go. Lakers trail by 2. J.R. Smith back out to Cacok. He's going to shoot a 3. Dwight. Maxi Kleber deflects it off Dwight's leg, so Dallas ball. And James, you got to think from this point on, Coach Carlisle and Coach Vogel just want to stay healthy and get some guys to run and get out of there.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Boban!
No
Sorry,
injuries.
James, I got excited.
Boban! I did too. He's an exciting player in great shape. Yeah, I think, first scrimmage, you're not looking for too much. Just guys getting familiar with each other, getting down the court, getting in shape.
THT with the rebound. And he's excited. See Dion Waiters. And game, James, I want to bring you not bad for a debut. 14 minutes, 3 for 7. Also, as Ali pointed out, showed the Lakers and their fans he can handle the basketball.
Hey, look, we're going to need him. Here's a guy who's a proven shot maker, not afraid to take the big shots. There are going to be times that we're going to need that creativity. And on top of that, once he can bring down the defense a little bit, the ability to distribute the basketball is going to be vital, especially until we get Rondo back, or we might need that second ball handler in the game. So as you see, pretty good, 3 of 7 on the field, and has proven himself in an early scrimmage game.
Just Jackson out of North Carolina gets the floater in the lane, 88-81. Cook in the game with J.R. Smith, T.A.G. Dwight, Devontae Kaycock right there. J.R. sees Dwight Howard for the alley-oop. Maxi Kleber.
You can hit that.
Good run three.
He can block some shots, hit some threes. Another part of Dallas, a young, bright future.
Yeah, Dallas Mavericks definitely building for the future as we see this alley-oop one more time. Great recognition and the role in the setup by Dwight.
Peter, we talked earlier about kind of Dwight's season redemption. We talked about him off the court, how he's been really friendly with fans pre-COVID. Really wanted to kind of reach out and almost like a my bad. Let's have a redo of 2012-13. But on the court, he's been great for guys. Very good offensive rebounder and scorer, too.
We're going to break. 5:50 left in the game. LeBron James, 12 points, 4 of 6, 5 assists. 15 minutes of action for Vogel telling the media before the game, you will only see LeBron AD in the first half. If you're a Laker fan, part of this Laker organization, you have to be real happy with what you saw from this Laker team in the first half. Shooting over 65% from the field. Defend. Lakers down 91-83. HT on the floor. Antetokounmpo on the floor. He gets his rebound, and he's fouled.
Back to LeBron for a minute. I really like what he's done with his game this season. He's a few months away from turning 36. I think we all are aware of that. I like how he's added the passing element. He's always been a really good passer, don't get me wrong. But of the many things he's done in his NBA career, he has never led the league in assists. That will happen, barring a stunning turnaround in the 8 regular season games. So he's not, revolutionizing his game, but he's kind of tinkering with it a little bit and saying, hey, I'm going to look to pass a little bit more this season than ever in all my previous years.
Kostas Antetokounmpo, brother of Giannis at the line. Member of the South Bay Lakers. Averaging 15 points and 8 rebounds a game. He's played in 3 games for the Lakers, still looking for his first points. Quinn Cook also in the lineup with J.R. Reed. Just Jackson. Good defense by Kaycock. He was the CAA Conference Defensive Player of the Year when he was in college. THT to the rack. Yeah. Lay it up and in. Mike Trudell, Frank Vogel recently raving about THT and what he's been able to do with his body, getting in shape. With that has come confidence. THT again. The time just misses. The up and under with the left. And Mavericks took advantage on a leak out, 93-85.
That crowd is really good.
You're joined it, aren't you, James?
Yeah, you listen to the game, you hear the sneakers squeaking, and it sounds like it's 20,000 people in there. Pretty cool.
You know, big game, I think that's been a big topic since the beginning of the restart when they got to Orlando. What would it look like? The intrigue behind hearing the players and coaches. Will there be crowd noise? Who has the advantage not feeding off a home crowd? Is it a veteran team? Is it a young team? All those coming into play. It's going to be so different, James. Unprecedented times for our entire country and world, not just the NBA.
Yeah, and I think veteran teams definitely have the advantage. Preparation, discipline. But Peter, I know in my time, whenever I got a big dunk or something or a big defensive play, that response from the crowd kind of pumps you up. If you're tired, it gives you that extra energy that you need. So I don't know quite what it's going to feel like for these guys getting an artificial crowd, but nevertheless, it sounds good from here.
Yeah, big game. Let's keep it real. Talking 80s, Showtime era, the Forum Club. You kidding me? You can't match that.
Can't match, especially the Forum Club, Peter.
Imagine you died on the sideline in Game 6 in 87 and there's a crowd.
No response. I'd be upset.
Yeah, still haven't added quite all the game elements yet. For this game, there was no player inductions beforehand. There was no national anthem. That'll be the same for the next scrimmages. Then they will gradually add those elements and some more time on the clock as well. Only 10-minute quarters tonight. But for these second and third scrimmages, it'll be 12-minute quarters.
Quinn Cook did not play in 11 of the Lakers' last 20 games. He has a ring when he played for Golden State. He's been to 2 finals as a member of that Warriors squad. He is one of the most well-liked guys, not just on the Lakers, but in the entire league. Born and raised a Laker fan. His dad passed away when Quinn was young. Was a huge Laker fan. Boban. Somewhere, Tobias Harris is looking and smiling. His former best friend.
I think he misses him.
He does. Now that Luka and Boban are having so much fun on Instagram.
He's a little left out, doesn't he? That's sad.
I got to say, Ali and Brez, Ali, we talked about this for months, literally, on every show we did during suspended play. What happened? What's your confidence level? So many times we thought it just wasn't going to be possible. Props to the NBA, the owners, the players for getting this done. And here we are, Ali. It's happening. The Lakers are playing basketball.
I mean, it's phenomenal. It really is. And it's a kudos to the league and how detailed they were with every step of this process. And it just goes to show another thing that I saw on social media leading up to these scrimmages starting. But we're seeing it here live now, watching it, is the distancing, the spacing between players on the bench and coaches, them having their own little stations that allow them to have the water, the towels, the mouth guard placement, all of that. It all plays a part. It's all what is going to ultimately make this thing be successful. It's what we've all wanted, and it's what they tirelessly worked so hard to accomplish. And again, we're just in day 2 of scrimmages, but things look to be flawless. The players look to be comfortable. And it's all you could have expected and asked for.
Medically speaking, I would add to that, a few weeks ago when the players were tested individually in their hometowns, it was about a 6-7% positivity rate for COVID. Then they brought everyone into the bubble. Right away, it was down to half of 1%. And then in the most recent testing, almost 350 players were tested. Not one showed signs of having COVID. So some amazing numbers there as well. The gradual decrease of players testing positive.
It just goes to show you that Commissioner Silver, took it serious from the beginning. It could have been easy for him to go ahead and play those games that were in progress, about to start, but he shut down quickly and educated the entire league and the communities about being safe, and the reopening of the NBA took some more serious conversations with doctors and, I'm sure people from CC and things like that, just to see how they could do it. And you see right there, they got the plexiglass up at the scorer's table in the bubble. Players seem to be very comfortable. And so, you know, hats off to the NBA for how they attack this and how they're handling it down there in the bubble.
Concur with all three of you as you see the distance seating. There's Kristaps Porzingis. James had mentioned the plexiglass as the referee's view, the clear path foul. So the Mavericks will shoot free throws and retain possession. Lakers next scrimmage, July 25th, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. We'll have the pregame show for you at 8:30. Coming up after this, if you missed anything, Allie, Brez, big game, doing the post game, show you highlights, break it all down for you. How did LeBron and AD look? Everything that's ahead of you. 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Boban having himself a game with 17. Look at THT. Great shot fake, unable to convert it. Such valuable minutes and opportunities for the South Bay Lakers. THT, Antetokounmpo, Haycock. It's great to see these guys at the big club. JR, and one. And his teammates happy because JR hasn't scored since when, Allie? Brez, anybody? When's the last time you played?
2018. 612 days since his last NBA game.
Dwight loves it.
The first press roll.
Alec, did you get a call you? You were locked in.
Trudell, you still with me? Trudell's busy.
Mike Presley here if you need him.
Hey, Brez. Yeah, we're doing a social distance broadcast. It's been a lot of fun, guys. I'm out in the trailer we call Fiji room. Mike Trudell joining us now. He's in the green room. That's where he will be for all the games, providing the sideline reporting. Billy and Stu will be in the room that I'm in right now. And Mike, it's been a lot of fun, actually, and checking out everyone's Instagrams. You know, JaVale McGee's done a great job, and seeing what these guys doing in the bubble. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is a group of guys that genuinely likes each other and is, when you thought about them originally all going down and being in this bubble concept, at least I, from talking to these guys, knew they were excited about this time they were going to get to spend together. And I know that it might be different for every team depending on what their championship aspirations are, but this is a squad that from LeBron on down to the end of the roster, every time we go to a road city, we go to dinner together, organizing movies, events, bowling, all kinds of stuff as Haycock gets into the action. So that was one thing, Chris, that you felt good about this squad going down there, because it's a real genuine thing. And I do think you see that play out on the court. LeBron is the ringleader. He's the one that's posting most in their group text thread, along with Jared Dudley and Kyle Kuzma. Those are the guys that I heard were the MVPs of the group at. But yeah, man, that's something that's been really prominent on this squad, and I think it's been helped the way that they played.
About that, you know, like it's interesting to, you know, for a lot of these guys, when in their lives of being a professional athlete, are they just going to be in one spot for 2 to 3 months with one thing to do, and that's hoop? It's really unprecedented.
There's no question, it's just never happened before. And, you know, I think they're even if you think about the other sports that are going around in Europe, European soccer, they've been in their home stadiums, right? So this concept hasn't really existed in that format. And the good news is that led by LeBron again, led by AD, and you're taking a look at Morse there, the mission has been very clear, and LeBron and Frank Vogel, too, are very good about just keeping these guys focused on what's in front of them directly. So all they're thinking about right now after this game is the next scrimmage game. And then they go from that to the third scrimmage game. So they're not worried yet about who they're going to match up with in the first round. It's been a just take what's in front of you mindset. And everybody says that in team sports, Chris, but we have seen that be more effective for the Lakers this year.
And I like the playoff process, Mike. I like that it's 4 out of 7. I like that there are no gimmicks. The one addition they did is awesome. It's the 9 seed if you're within 4 games. Being down 1-0, having a chance to win 2 in a row to grab that 8th seed. I think that's going to add some excitement, some intrigue. We've never seen it before, especially if you're a Laker fan. You hang on to that 1 seed, 5.5 game lead with 8 to go. You're most likely to play that 8. And who's it going to be? Right now, it looks like Memphis, but hey, how about Portland getting healthy, looking awful good? New Orleans at full strength. Sacramento. Could be any of those teams. Could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're right, and you honestly won't know, right, until it gets onto it, and that gives some Laker fans and every NBA fans out there a chance to focus on some of those games that are coming, especially towards the end of these seeding action, because you're not going to know who you're going to play if you're Lakers, and that just leads back to that whole mindset of preparing on what you can control yourself. And once it becomes evident, though, Chris, if those teams who have to play the playoff games, they'll be the 2 days before first round of the playoffs. So that's one little advantage that first round team, first seed, I should say, would have over somebody potentially playing in to get that game.
103-95. Dallas leading with 1 minute and 47 seconds left. Reminding everybody that you will see the rest of the scrimmages right here on Spectrum Sportsnet. It's 9 a.m. on Saturday, noon on Monday, and then the real thing starts July 30th, next Thursday, week from today. Lakers, Clippers. Many believe, I was one of them, back in March, the Clippers and Lakers were on a crash course to play each other, Mike, in the Western Conference Finals. Everyone thought Bucks, Lakers, Clippers, the 3 teams with a legit chance to win. The crazy thing about this, no one knows now. It's 4.5 months later. Team could get hot.
Yeah, there's no question about that, Chris. And I think that it probably opens the field a bit more. You're looking at the Western Conference there. We'll see what Houston's able to put together with that unique style that they're going to play, going small, not really playing center. Is that something that could catch a team in round 2, say? Is that something that they're going to wear down as they had started to in the regular season? We don't know. But again, the Lakers, all they can really focus on right now is staying healthy. And that's what Frank Vogel's and the staff and Rob Pelinka and everybody wanted to make sure they had all of their medical people on site. And that's the benefit that they have when you see that 5.5 game lead. That's the biggest thing, Chris, because one injury, and you knock on wood for every team, one injury could make such a big difference as it gets down to the bubble after things advance.
Yeah, I look at Western Conference as they review who the ball went out of bounds on, and you see the Clippers in that bench with Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, part of that starting unit, their first year together, what they've been able to do. Denver, getting to a Game 7 in the second round last year. Jokic, Jamal Murray, Houston, as you mentioned, Westbrook and Harden, how dangerous they could be in this setting in a 7-game series. Oklahoma City, one of the hottest teams over the last few months in the league. A team like Portland making it to the Western Conference Finals. No one's even talking about them right now. They got Zach Collins and Nurkic back. And they got a guy named Dame Time. Round the back, JR. Antetokounmpo with his bucket. And the Lakers climbed to within 6. Kostas has 5 points. Block called on Kostas. So the South Bay Lakers plus JR and Quinn Cook battling. Trying to get back in this. And if you missed this, check the re-air tonight on Spectrum Sportsnet as we take a look at JR's play. Oh, he plays defense too, Allie, James, and Brez. A little behind the back.
He can hit threes, and he's pretty high up on some of these steals lists for some career guys. He's logged a lot of time. It's easy to forget that, but
He did quite a few things.
13th full time in threes made, 1,929, J.R. Smith. And just like October, guys, when it's the preseason, I'm already ready for the real thing.
Well, Giddy, this will be our first time in the playoffs in some time. So,
oh, man. Big game, James. 8 years together.
Yeah. I have a special drink for you.
I bet you do.
We tip off the first playoff game.
I bet you do.
Yes, sir.
And let me just say this, James. I'm all in. THT getting his hands on the ball, strips it from Boban. Lakers are down 5 with 28 seconds. JR's going to shoot a 3. And he makes it, and the Lakers are down just 2. Who says it's only a scrimmage and you don't care? Lakers foul. They're going to send right to the line. Frank Vogel probably thinking, we don't really want overtime, but I wouldn't mind a couple of misses here and a 3. Let's show JR's 3. Boban just go ahead and shoot it. We're good. J.R. Smith, 1 for 4 from 3.
By the way,
for the 4-point lead.
He is 9th all-time in threes in the playoffs.
Lakers would call timeout. Frank Vogel going over situations here. Down 4, 18 seconds. We're going to take a break. A timeout. J.R. Smith to Quinn Cook. Reminder, stick around if you're watching Spectrum Sportsnet right now. Post-game show coming next. You'll hear from the Lakers and Vogel. Allie, Brett, big game. Quinn Cook. Down 2, 5 seconds. And that's going to do it for the first scrimmage for the Lakers here on the NBA campus in Orlando. And Dallas will win 108-106. Oh, maybe that didn't count. 108-104. Everyone's walking out of there healthy. That's a good sign. Anthony Davis, 12 points in 15 minutes. Danny Green saying hello. Boban with a great game for